Rev up your engines!
Now here's something a lot of people don't know about Tesla. If you need them fixed, it can take a long time. Guy named Frederick had a Tesla. His neighbor ran into it and dented it, right? He goes to the body shop and they said, we're estimating 3 to 6 months to get the parts, so you can't leave it with us. We'll call you when the parts come in. Now the repair shop that the guy took it to had what they call a no Tesla program. They would not take the Tesla right in as soon as the accident happened because they knew it could be 3 to 6 months for the parts to come, and they didn't want that Tesla sitting there taking up their space for 3 to 6 months, which you can't blame them, right? So the guy's looking at 90 to 180 days to get body work done on the car because Tesla doesn't keep extra parts on hand. They're so in a hurry to try to build enough cars to sell them, they don't have these spares lying around to sell to the body replacement people when they get wrecked, you know? I mean, of course, you gotta understand the guys, they don't comprehend the auto business at all. There's no places to get the cars repaired hardly at all anyways. He won't share his information with mechanics to fix them. He wants to get all the money for himself. But the worst thing is here, he doesn't have extra parts. So your car gets smashed, you can't get parts to fix it. Ha! That's all I gotta say. People aren't thinking about this as they buy one. Cars almost always get in wrecks. Every single car that I personally bought had been in a wreck before I bought it. Most cars get in a wreck during their life, and even a small wreck. Can't get the parts for 30 to 90 to 60 to maybe even 180 days? What are you going to do with your car? So that's a big disadvantage other car makers don't have. You get your car in a wreck, you can get it fixed. Since he doesn't have spare parts lying around, because he's using them all to build cars. Too bad on you if you get in a wreck. Same thing if something breaks and it has to be fixed. What are you going to do? Sit around waiting for parts? And they never talk about this aspect of it. You know, that's what they don't really talk about. That's the other thing about electric cars. Not only is there not an electric infrastructure to charge them with, of course, there is not an electronic parts bin that you can go to. You know, regular cars, you can go to AutoZone, O'Reilly, all those places, get decent parts at a decent price. No, you can pay Tesla's price on this because they're the only people that have them. And you're going to be waiting a long time for them. So think about it before you buy one of those things. Riz says, replaced my alternator on a 2006 Honda Odyssey, and now the car revs up and down from 900 RPM to 500. What could it be? The alternator's kind of in a hard place to get to on that V6 engine. I'm thinking I knocked the vacuum line off, maybe the PCV hose or something, because when your car idles up and down, it's generally a vacuum leak. It sucks air. So it sucks air, and then the air-fuel mixture ratio is wrong. The computer tries to compensate it, then it goes down, but it's still sucking air, so then it goes up and down and up and down and up and down. Listen with your ear. You might hear a sucking sound. That's where the problem lies. Also, look at all the wiring around your alternator. Something could have been unplugged. Maybe the idle air control valve, the little wiring got unplugged, and even sometimes this is worse. There's not much working room on that Honda, and it's hard to get to the wires on the alternator. And when you're moving them in and out, maybe some wires got pinched, and if they got pinched, that's going to mess up a lot of stuff, and you could see the wires pinched, and you'll have to take it apart and rewire it, solder new wire in and put it back together. Maybe make it a little longer. The problem is they make everything so cheap these days. They make the wire as short as possible, so the short wire gets pinged when you're working on stuff. So it could be that too, but more often it's a vacuum leak. Look for a vacuum leak, suck in there, and that'll make it idle up and down. A lot of times you can just plug it in, or maybe when they put the alternator on, the hose got pinched, and then you don't have to take it all apart. You can just cut the hose and then splice a new piece of vacuum line in it. Paradox says, my 2019 Chevy Blazer, the warning light is on that says service all-wheel drive. I took it to the dealer. They said they couldn't find anything. Now it comes on and it goes off. What do you think it could be? There is a part called the rear differential control module, and that's what controls the all-wheel drive. But on some of those, they got a little wiring problem. Because I had a customer with one. What happened was they took it to the dealer and they said, oh, you need a new rear differential control mod. They put it on, and then about 3 weeks later, the all-wheel drive service light came back on again. They had to take it back. It turns out there was a wiring short. The wiring wasn't connected right. Where it plugged in at one part, it had some corrosion on it. It had to be cleaned off and put back together again. It is a problem with that system. And you said they scanned it, couldn't find any problems, any codes. Odds are the wiring's got a short somewhere that's intermittent short, which is often where the connectors are. Unplug all the connectors yourself. You might find it's a dirty connector. And if that's the case, what you can do is clean it all off. And then when you connect it together, you might put a little dielectric grease around it, and that will keep corrosion from getting inside. The dielectric grease is waterproof. And so it'll keep water from getting inside by coating it once you plug it all back together so water can't intrude and mess it up again. I see that happen a lot on those. Paul Cuspin says, Scotty, is the Mercedes 320 Formac a good car? Not really, unless you like wasting money. I had a customer who the electric seat started on fire, burned his leather jacket and part of his rear end. He had to go see the doctor. And that thing was a lemon. She saw the video I put up the other day. The guy bought a AMG fancy Mercedes SUV that was made in Alabama for 150 grand, and all the stuff was breaking already. It was less than a year old. They don't impress me, let me tell you. The technology is amazing. This particular one, it even had a perfume atomizer for your AC, so if you didn't like the smell, you could push a button and it would spray some kind of perfume in the system. They're going a little bit too far, people. Let's make them correctly first, and then that crap on if people really want it. But you need to make them a lot better than you're making them, Mercedes. The ones they're making here for sure. Jaguar Land Rover's engineering boss is leaving. Now, I would have thought he should have left a long time ago, considering the poor engineering that company does. But it's got Nick Rogers. He's 53 years old, and he spent 37 years with Jaguar. And if you know anything about Jaguar, if anything, they've gotten worse over time. I would have gotten rid of that guy a long time ago. Here's his quote. I can't help but laugh at the stuff. And I quote, "It's been an honor to work with such an incredible team of people to engineer and launch some of the most desirable vehicles in the world." Everybody knows those things fall apart. They're endless money pits. The Jaguars, the Land Rovers are probably the worst SUV in the world for breakdowns. They break down all the time. Cost a fortune to fix. This guy was the head of the engineering. He should have left a long time ago, if you ask me. He also says, today, after almost 4 decades, it's time to hand over a stronger than ever technical team. If they think that's strong, boy, is he living in a fantasy land. They said he's going to explore opportunities outside of the automotive sector. Maybe should have done that a long time ago. The guy started as a technician apprentice in 1984 when it was British Leyland, one of the worst companies ever to exist. I guess they just keep promoting him. What do they say? People reach the height of their incompetence and they stay there. Obviously, that's what happened to this guy. Now, this guy led what was called the modular longitudinal architecture, where they're going to make them all like skateboard. They get electric ones, they get gasoline ones, all with the same basic chassis. But the company has given up with that. Canceled the MLA mid programs and the new Jaguar XJ. They canceled all that. Then they decided to get rid of him altogether. Jeez, he was there a long time, you know. And the company certainly didn't get much better. They intended for this MLA program to be the future of them, but now they've canceled most of it. Maybe they should just cancel the entire company. I remember a few years back, they were even having talks that, well, we'll just scrap Jaguar entirely. We'll only make Land Rovers. Because, of course, all the yuppies like the Land Rovers, so they're selling them to rich people, and all the yuppies will want to be rich people. But they still are making Jaguars. Now, most of it's done in China. But I find it hilarious that the guy lasted that long. The head of the engineering at probably one of the worst engineering companies in the world. Even the Chinese were protesting in China at the headquarters of Jaguar, the people who had bought Jaguars, over the poor quality of the vehicles. But of course, when he leaves, they all praise each other, kiss each other's heinies, you know. Typical with the executives. Oh, we did a great job, didn't we? Justin Shepard says, I can't figure out my mixture adjustment screws. I got a Rochester 210 dual jet carburetor. The air mixture screws are little pinny things at the base of the carburetor. They don't seem easily adjustable unless you're supposed to use a thin pair of needle nose pliers. The fast idle is a regular screw. What do I do? All right, well, there actually are screw heads in there. What you want to do is clean it with carburetor cleaner. Clean it real good. You'll see they're thin little screws. You need a thin little screwdriver to get in there. And what you do is you start by turning them both all the way in so that you feel the spring compressed. Then you turn them out about 1.5 screws, and that's your basic adjustment. Then you can fiddle with them until they idle right by adjusting the left and the right ones. But I'll tell you, it's an old carburetor car, right? So the first thing I do is I take them completely out. Unscrew them the whole way, make sure you don't lose the springs. Clean all the holes with carburetor cleaner to get all the carbon out. Then screw them all the way in and 1.5 out, and then adjust it from there. They are adjustable, but it's probably so dirty that you can't see. They are flat screws, but they're little ones, so you need a little long screwdriver. They used to sell special carburetor adjustment tools that were a screwdriver with a spring, and so the spring would fit anywhere, and then you could turn the screwdriver apart. But you can get those little screwdrivers, like I use on eyeglasses to tighten them, and get them in there, and you can adjust them that way.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.